In every community, there is a voice. In Milpitas, that voice is unique. That voice is diverse. That voice is innovative. That voice is expressive. That voice is multicultural. That voice is groundbreaking. That voice is thought-provoking. That voice is powerful. These are some of the residents from Milpitas who make up that voice. And they deserve a news source that will represent them to the fullest.
Welcome back. My name is Mitch Costanza once again, and here we are with Unfiltered. I'm here with
Brunton.
Bob Brunton. It's got great alliteration, and it's Bob on the ballot, Bob Brunton, not Robert. So just so you know that. Anyways, we're here, and we've got a lot to talk about. We've been talking before the show. His wife is El Salvadorian. I'm a chef. She makes pupusas. So this is cool. We got a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm glad. Thank you for having this. I mean, we need more of these forums. This is good for you at home because to understand why we want to be, representing you in Sacramento, and that's what this is all about today. I'm hoping I can convince you.
That's what I tell everybody, that you just grow up with a picket sign and you go, who's George Peterson? You know?
And so I'm hoping in this next few minutes you get a good chance of why Bob Brunton should be your support and why you should vote for me for state assembly.
I think you'll definitely give it a good shot. You're very transparent and you're fun to talk to. So I would like you to start off by telling everybody, where were you before this? Because I think that's got some importance with your connection to Milpitas. Where were you today?
Oh, well, I have...
With the firemen, right?
Yeah, I mean, today I was doing a fireman deal, and it's talking about how they're bought some help them their dog rescue programs and so forth. But the key issue is in this district is I have lived here since the late '80s, and have been involved in all parts of this district. My daughter was born in Santa Clara. I was married in Santa Clara. I owned businesses in Fremont and in Milpitas. So, I go to church in San Jose. So this is really my district. I am here. And that's part of the reason I'm running, because I've lived here so long, and I'm beginning to see we're not fixing the problems. Matter of fact, things are getting worse.
So tell me that. Let's talk specifics. Give me one so we don't get too globalized with it. What's one problem, the first one that comes to your mind, and how do you want to fix it?
Okay. And I will get there, because this campaign's slogan is who I am, which is just solutions, no excuses. And we've actually got 30 different ways to improve our district and state without raising taxes.
Wow.
And I've gotten these by living here, and when I would go to a coffee shop and I would just sit down and say, hey, is there one thing that how could Sacramento be better for you? Or what could we do to make things better? Right. And then, of course, I was always a half hour late because traffic is so horrible, right? So clearly, almost everybody brings up how bad.
I just drove from Oakland. It was like 2 hours.
And so, if there's a common theme that you're going to hear from me, is that not only am I working on solutions, the other thing we have to worry about is we have too much government, but we also have ineffective government. So we have to improve how our government works, but also decrease some of the things they're doing.
Local government?
Well,
or are you saying national?
The reason why I'm running for state assembly, understand that I guess to back up where I was in that, for 30 years, I've owned businesses in this area. For 12 years, I was an elected community college trustee. So, I do bring some experience in both business ownership and public sector work. And it's from learning from that. That's the reason why I want to go to Sacramento. So take a look, for instance, we talk about traffic. But here's the weird problems. We have 24 mass transit agencies. Think about that. And we have a 25th coming with the high-speed rail. Yet roads are horrible.
Right.
And it's like, and ridership is down. there's this major disconnect. So part of the reason why I'm going to Sacramento is, on one hand, I want to there's incentives to get these mass transit agencies to work better together. Right now, the fourth biggest mass transit agency is actually a private sector one, the Google people that run their little trucks around,
Right.
because the public couldn't get them there. So it's nuts that our government does things and does it poorly. It's like we're not fixing anything. And so that's the reason I'm going to Sacramento, folks, is I am just going to say, hey, guys, I'm going to be introducing legislation that's going to force our mass transit agencies to work better, closer together, work with each other, because if we're going to do like last mile, we're going to have to allow the Uberization, the Uber cars and all to go to the BART stations to allow people to go to last mile. I mean, the whole, and they don't do this. I mean, they fight with each other. They don't work well with each other. And even in Santa Clara County, as you may not be aware, this district of mine, this 25th district, includes both Alameda County and Santa Clara County. Okay? So basically it's a Dumbarton Bridge to the San Jose Airport. So it's the cities of Newark and Fremont on the Alameda County side, and Santa Clara and Milpitas and San Jose on the Santa Clara side, and El Viso too. And yet, and I would go to each one of the cities and I would say, how can I be a peacemaker too to help us work together? Like Highway 237. I mean, that's a big deal for Fremont and Newark. To people in Santa Clara, it's something you don't think about a lot.
Tell us why. Give me some specificity about why that's a big deal for Fremont.
Well, because it's because of like where they're living and where they go to work, and so they're stuck on the road. They're saying, how come this road never gets improved, or why is it so bad? I mean, why? And so part of the incentive, and I'm going to go there to not only encourage these people but also add legislation that's going to help them work together better.
So what do you think the biggest issue in Milpitas is? Is it that? Is it transportation?
Well, that's certainly one issue they talk a lot about. They certainly talk about traffic.
I know, real quick.
They talk about the smell occasionally.
They were talking earlier about raising the cost of the toll and the cost of gas to help pay for the streets and the potholes and stuff. What do you think about that?
Okay. Well, there's several taxes that matter of fact, let me back that up for a second.
No, go for it.
I do want to give you that answer, but I think you need the big, the globaler thing.
Give it to me. I'm sitting here.
Okay. Because my campaign really deals with four basic areas. Okay. One is greatly improving education. And we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about how to improve education. Secondly, we talk about improving the infrastructure. We've talked about the roads and so forth.
Okay.
The other third area, which is not talked a lot about, is improving our civil justice system.
Ooh, speak on that.
And I do want to, but I want you to understand that this is unusual for a guy like me because this is so critically important. And then fourth, and probably even the most important, is even trust in our government. Because we hear stuff and they go, it doesn't make sense. It says, you're not telling me the truth.
Tell me something in specific.
Okay, so let me give you some examples.
Yeah, cool. I hope it's okay. I just want the viewers to get specific examples.
But I want you to know all four of specific things.
That makes sense.
Okay, so you understand where I'm coming from. So on civil justice, since you said that was of interest to you, okay, here's what I found out, is that the cost of lawsuits are so expensive.
Right.
And it's so time consuming. And it seems like the only people who win are lawyers. And this is just wrong. And I went to a district, the DA's office. I said, how often do civil lawsuits turn into criminal lawsuits because people are so irritated?
Right.
And it happens too often. So I said, okay, so give me some specific ways in which we can make our systems work a little smoother. One, I want to raise small claims court up to $50,000 instead of being where it is at $10,000. So if you and I have a dispute for $17,000, which to you and I may seem like a lot of money.
Right.
Okay. So, but if we ever tried an attorney, it'd cost each one of us $5,000 to pay for our attorney, and it would do some other court fees, and so whoever won would end up with $3,000, and that's nothing, and it would take a long time.
Or they'd lose $3,000.
Yeah, I mean, right. It's just horrible. No one would win except, like I said, the attorneys. And at the same token, once when I was also giving a talk at the Muslim high school in Santa Clara, and they were talking about, I said, what's your number one complaint or what's your number one issue? And they said to me, bullying. I said, well, that's kind of an interesting issue. Well, I'll tell you what, when I go to Sacramento, I'm going to work on bullying I'm going to be against adult bullying. I mean, often big corporations pick on little corporations by their massive attorneys. It's not because they have a better product. They just use their attorneys to slow things down. And so I'm going to be working on ideas to, make civil justice go faster, go cheaper. I would even be willing to consider doing a public defender for civil cases, because right now we have public defender for criminal cases.
Right.
But if you don't have the money,
So that's specific. That's great.
so raising small claims court and specifically having as there you go. Now, so that's one specific on education.
Yep.
Understand the global situation here. 54% of the budget of California is allocated to education. When you get your hand around that, so we have a problem here. We have 5 academic institutions, and they don't work well together. We waste an enormous amount of money on education. By the time and I said that's kind of weird. It says by the time it gets to the classroom, it's like all this money starts up here. By the time it gets to the classroom, it's like pennies on the dollar, because all this money has just been wasted. And so I'm going to focus in on how to, so several things I'm going to be doing right away. One that seems out of the box is for college students, Common Course numbering. Just to make sure that English 101 is English 101 throughout the system. I talk to students, it takes them 4 or 5 years, 5 or 6 years to get through the system. They don't. If the community colleges could offer make sure English 101 is the same whether you take it alone.
Oh, you mean for getting credits?
For getting credit, right?
So you're saying things aren't transferring over?
Yeah, because they aren't transferring over, and it takes students forever to get through.
Okay, interesting.
Another problem is that I would be talking to citizens of Milpitas, where I thought they were citizens of Milpitas. But the reality is they were working in Milpitas, but they were citizens of Antioch.
Huh.
Okay, so it was taking them 2 hours to get here.
Right.
They were spending more of their life in Milpitas than they were in Antioch. But they would say to me, but I have a child, and my child would like to go to school. I'd like to have the child close to me. I mean, that makes sense. They have a parent once they have their child. So I said, well, look,
So are they saying they'd take the child from Antioch here, they go to work, and the kid goes to school?
They would
here?
like to.
They would like to.
They would like to.
And you say no.
And I would say absolutely good. That's great. Because you see, it's the other. I said there's only one political party that really wants the fact that allowing parents to choose where they put their school, the kids to school. You shouldn't be forced to just stay in Antioch. You should not. Another thing. So I want to be. I'm going to. One of the things I learned is that I think that the counties could have high-end schools that anyone could go to, whether you work or live in Santa Clara County or live and work. Because right now it's wrong. I think, for instance, education is such an important part of our whole society. And some of the kids, some parents live in poor neighborhoods, and they can't go, and they shouldn't be stuck.
Right.
The quality
so charter schools could potentially be...
Charter schools are one of the examples. But we have to really rethink the whole concept of, when I would go to that Muslim school, or I'd go to the Jewish school, or I'd go to the Catholic school too, and I says, we all have something in common. We all love our children.
Yep.
And we all want what's best for our children. And so maybe I says, look, I will fight for you to make sure that you can have a chance to have some of this money, some of this tuition you're spending, thousands and thousands of dollars you're spending because you love your kid, but you want your kid also close to where you work, or you somehow seem the school is better to meeting your needs.
But those people that we're referring to won't be voting because they're not residents. So why should our residents want to vote for that? Some people are very inclusive. I'm not saying it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just kind of playing devil's advocate.
And I get you.
Because someone's going to ask you that.
No, and you just did. And that's somebody you just did.
That's right.
That's a fair question.
Okay, cool.
Okay, look, this election, if you really want to nail it down, something really basic, simple for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, this is a really simple election to figure this out. I have an incumbent who does very little.
Mr. Chu.
Right.
Assemblyman Chu.
He's okay. If you like that, vote for him. I am going in there to fix Sacramento, to fix things, make things better. I will work for my entire district, but, we need to think a little bit more regionally, too.
Right.
Because I submit to you, that lady who has a child, she works in Milpitas. She spends more hours in Milpitas than she did in Antioch. I mean, and this is not, at some point we got to educate our kids, and I think there's a way to which and that's going to introduce legislation in Sacramento that allows parents to put their children in school near where they work, and also near where and if they need higher performing schools, because you should not be limited to the quality of your income of your father or mother. I mean, it should be, it's wrong. The biggest example locally is like East Palo Alto, like a night and day.
Right,
I mean,
right.
Like,
you take a left.
I mean, it's just
you
like
take a right.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about civil justice reforms. We talked a little bit about school reforms. Okay, so let's talk about trust for a moment. Because
trust in the government.
Right.
You're not feeling it.
No. And look, I'm a certified financial planner. I've owned 2 electronics companies in the area as well.
Can I say which one?
No.
Did you do video games or anything?
No.
That's just the geek in me coming out. All right, I'll let you go on.
Okay. So here's the scoop. You would hear stories like a BART's on time and under budget. And I said, well, aren't they 2 years late? I mean, how can this possibly be? I mean, it is. Our government just seems to make up stories that just don't match up, because we can't fix any problem. When I learned, the one thing I learned when I was on the college board at Ohlone was that if I can't believe the numbers, I mean, if I can't believe what I'm looking at, how can I even possibly begin to solve the problems? How can I possibly tell you? How we're going to fix this thing if I don't even trust what I'm even looking at.
So you think the numbers have been fabricated or altered or just done properly?
Okay, so they're always skewed to give them, making them look the best, as opposed to if you try to do that in the financial services industry, where if you explain products that way, you'd be going to jail.
Because, exactly.
So we need truth in advertising laws, and we need conflict of interest laws that apply better. Our legislators often don't even think broadly. I'll give you an example. I was just at a workshop dealing about the big fires in Santa Rosa.
Right.
Okay, so now they just
terrible.
It's horrible. But they just realized they probably should have allowed PG&E to mow the lawn. I mean, it wouldn't have made it so bad. It's like our government reacts instead of thinks through. So one of the things you're going to be dealing with, BobBrunton, is that I'm going to be thinking through things. And to get back, we asked about the gas tax because so. That's on a proposition. I think it's 6. Yes on 6 is to repeal the gas tax,
right.
and of course the official position is repeal and replace, not just repeal, because my opponent voted for that gas tax.
Right.
Okay, and so he lied to you. Because he lied. Because you were that we were not going to have a tax increase without a vote of the people, and he didn't take it to the vote of the people. The legislators voted on it without taking it to us, the people.
So how would that normally, just explain to me,
so the gas tax
how would that have gone to the people's vote? What would that process be?
So the process should have been on the ballot right now.
Okay.
It should have been some sort of, here's our proposal.
About the gas tax.
People. And you, the people, that's what we promised we would do. Jerry Brown, all the Democrats said we will not increase taxes without go to the vote of the people. Right? So what should have happened is they should have been a proposal right now saying we're going to have a tax increase and here's where it's going to go. And then secondly, the tax increase, what did it do? I mean, part of the problem is we're hearing is that we divert a lot of money to the current gas tax. I mean, so what I'm asking for is that the gas tax be also spent locally. So if we collect it locally, we should spend it locally. I mean, help our current roads instead of sending it down to. So our people can decide and give it to the instead of like, well, we're going to have major projects in L.A. or something, or we're going to do an overchange.
Right.
In Fremont, as an example, they just took some of the gas tax money and instead of improving road capacity, they're using it for taking out plants. I don't know how that helps roads.
Let me ask you this, just to get clear. So, Assemblyperson Chu, so it didn't go to the people, right? The
Correct.
vote, and then what? It couldn't have just been him that changed it. It had to be other people in Sacramento, or how did that work out?
Okay, so.
I just think we should know all the details of your opinion.
I'll give you, absolutely.
Yeah.
I shy away from nothing.
Cool.
Okay.
Cool. Because
and when I make
if I don't understand something, then it's possible that our viewers may not.
Perfect.
So I got to
slow me down because I have a chance of talking fast on this. Okay, so here's the scoop.
I'm Italian, so you know.
Okay, no, but our listeners may not be. Okay. So look. Okay, so we're talking about the gas tax, right? Okay.
Right. Should have gone to the people.
Should have gone.
What did Chu do?
Okay, so here's the scoop. In California, we have one-party rule. Okay, and that's another reason why you need to elect BobBrunton, because right now, the Democrats have what's called a supermajority, and that's what happened. Is that you could either pass a tax increase either by a vote of the people or by a 2/3 vote of the Assembly and Senate.
In Sacramento. Okay.
Right. And so they have a supermajority in Sacramento at that time.
Okay.
At that time it passed, so the Republicans can do anything. I mean, we couldn't even force an honest discussion like, where's this money going to go? How are we going to use it? Because if it's for just road construction, that might be good. But if it's for plants or a lot of bike lanes or special overpass, I mean, what are we getting for this money? And what happened to all the old money we're going with the gas tax now?
Right.
And why should battery operated cars not pay anything? I mean, what is it we're talking about here?
Right.
I mean, they use the roads too. Now, granted, they're paying a small amount now with the.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
But it's, and that was an afterthought, but B, a way below the normal amount because the average person can pay another $900 for gas tax. So if the battery operated car is $100, and how many poor people buy battery operated cars?
Right.
And frankly,
well, around here a lot, right?
How many poor people buy battery operated cars?
Correct. Right.
How many poor people buy battery-operated cars? How many lower middle-class people buy battery-operated cars?
Right.
Very few.
Very few.
Okay, and so the one party it's supposed to be for the poor and middle is not. It's kind of weird here in California.
Larry David always drives one of those on his show.
Okay.
So what does that tell you?
And even there, and should we be playing favorites for the type of car you drive?
Right.
I mean, there's so many issues, and I think that's the other thing you need to understand when you elect Bob Brunton. Not only will I going to listen to you, because you can tell I listen to you.
Yeah.
And that'll be true of any of you.
And you can clearly multitask
right,
all this.
I want challenged my position so that we can strengthen the depth of the argument, because we are clearly in Sacramento not doing that.
So if you are in Sacramento, and you're, how do you feel like you could communicate with Democrats, you being a Republican and on different sides? How can you handle those conversations to get somewhere working together?
Thank you.
That's interesting.
Thank you for asking that question.
Yeah.
Because, the other day I was at the Santa Clara County Democratic Party meeting, and people are stunned I'm sitting there. And I'm listening, I'm talking, and I got some hugs from several Democrats from me at this meeting. I said,
right.
well, you're Mr. Republican here. Why are you here? He says, look, I want to represent you. I want to find out what we have in common. When I was on the college board, we had this thing called the Diversity Week. Okay, and I suggested when I was on the board that we instead, during the Diversity Week, have one day designated a Similarity Day. Find out what we have in common, because that's how we're going to build our friendships.
Interesting.
And I learned too at an early age too. If you want to get things done, you have to allow other people to take the credit.
Yep.
So I'm going to allow people to blame me for lots of things. That's how I tell people and joke to even remember my name. I'll take the brunt of it. I can handle a ton. And because at the end of the day. And when it was on the Ohlone board, even though it was considered a nonpartisan board, it was well known that it was, 6 Democrats and 1 Republican. I mean, but yet I could get things done because we talked about issues, we talked about solutions, and my campaign. Yes, I am what I am, but really, folks, I'm just the streets should not be Democrat Republican, the schools should not be Democrat Republican, civil justice shouldn't be Democrat Republican. It should be about helping people. Period.
Right.
And my promise to you is I will not allow any of that soft racism or hard racism to exist. It's about fixing things, and I will be willing to, and I go out of my way to listen to other people's positions and try to mold them into a viable, workable solution. And I will do that because I've done that. And I could this show was too short to cover many of those things that we did at Ohlone, but I can promise you that is a strength of mine. I will be a way better legislator than I am a campaigner because I know how to communicate. I know how to help people to get together and make things get done.
What's campaigning been like? What does that look like? I liked what you were saying. That was really cool about going to the Democrat Party to talk to them. What have you been doing?
So, I'll go to a pizza and I have my little button. I'll have a little button on when I'm running for office, and so that people, I don't want to surprise people while I'm talking to them or while I'm asking them a question.
Right.
And it's kind of
so
weird.
that's interesting. So you're not going in there secret. You're letting them know who you are.
I don't use surrogates to campaign for. When you hear, you're going to hear it from me.
Right.
I even told that to my opponent. It says, if you're anything negative, call me up because if it came from me, then it came from me, because because I don't use other people to do my dirty work, nor do I, I do people the right. But anyway, go to these events. Often what happens is kind of strange, is that sometimes these people really, say, hey, you're not too bad. And then they find out I'm Republican. It's like, oh, God. It's kind of weird around here. But, I just am what I am. Because I'm Republican, because I believe in limited government and I believe in responsible government, but I believe in love, And the fact is, we aren't loving you, the taxpayer. We're just we spend, we waste, don't listen to you. So I just go out there and ask them a question, and they usually fire, And,
Have you put up? Do you put up signs or what is that? I'm just curious as to what's the life of somebody that's running? What does that look like?
Well, it is. Well, you asked. It's a fair question. When it's a better question is really, what's it like to run as a challenger as opposed to an incumbent? Because as a challenger, it's certainly a lot harder to get money. Mm-hmm. Let's be blunt. You got a little bit of money from your friends, just why you sane or something?
It's like being a filmmaker.
Are you insane? Are you running for office? But,
all right, here's $100. See you later. Right.
Okay. But you really need thousands.
Well,
when you hear about some of these campaigns, they're spending $1 million for assembly race, and I go, Jesus, in this job only pays $100,000 a year,
right.
And so why would you spend 10 times? And I go, and my opponent has hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, so what is it that? So people ask me, are you going to win? And I go, well, then the polling numbers probably show that then I'm not going to give any money. Or what are you going to do for me? I don't know. For $5,000, you're not going to change my opinion. I hope you would, but I'll listen to you. But if you have a great plan, I'd vote for it. If it's a bad plan, I'll vote against it. Regardless,
I got some rice cakes over there.
Regardless, so it is. It is part of the system. And I put a small amount of my own personal money. My wife and I set a limit. Says this is how much money we'll put in, and the rest. What I can tell you, the taxpayer, is that the way in which I run the campaign, which is I won't spend the money till I have it, is the way I'd run the government as well, which is if I don't have it, we ain't going to spend it. And so we're not going to go in debt. And when I talk about the trust in government, we bring it all back.
What have you spent it on so far to campaign?
Well, you just the little things. I got a website. You got a few signs. Whatever money comes in, we use.
Do you go around? It sounds like you're going around. You're going to the firemen. You're going to the Democratic Party. Tell me some other places that you're visiting on your Milpitas campaign trail.
Well, I'm the only, and understand I live in the city of Fremont. Okay?
Oh, right, okay.
Okay, so that's, you understand that, because I'm the only Alameda County resident who's a member of the Santa Clara Citizens Advisory Committee. Because I said, I just want to learn about what's going on in the city of Santa Clara. So I spent a lot of time trying to understand, because I said, if I want to represent you, whether it's the 49ers Stadium is a big issue for you, or the Convention Center is a big issue for you, or, how you get dealing with the old quad. And in Milpitas, the issues are like, should we raise the hotel tax, about the smell of and so every city has a different thing. In Newark, it's about, for instance, we haven't talked much about infrastructure and mass transit, which I'm in favor of.
Right. I was going to ask you about housing, too. So
we're talking about housing,
yeah.
Because to give you some out-of-the-box ways of thinking, for instance, the high-speed rail, which I think is a huge waste of money.
Do you? Tell me why.
A humongous waste of money. Okay, so...
I love the word humongous.
Okay, so what I would do with that money is the one mass transit system that sort of would make sense is what I call what other people call the Dumbarton Bridge Right-of-Way Project, which is connecting the Union City BART station to Caltrain Redwood City using the old Dumbarton Bridge to cross over.
Oh.
That would actually do something. That would actually move a lot of traffic before it even goes down south. It would actually connect some of the major mass transit systems. Like I said, we have these 24, and they don't work well together.
So you're saying it would go under the way it goes under
right
the
now
bay?
we have an old right now there's an old railroad track.
Oh.
Okay, so and as soon as that railroad track falls down, you'll never cross that water again. So you might as well, and if you put a stop in Newark and a stop in East Palo Alto, it would help those two cities out as well for housing and so forth. But that type of that mass transit improvement would be useful for the Bay Area. The high-speed rail, when I've taken high speed, and I took a high speed in Italy, I took a high speed in Japan, I took a high speed in Moscow. I saw no poor people taking those high-speed rails. They're going to be expensive. It isn't for the poor and middle, those rail stations. So that's one thing. I've talked about sales tax reform. Let me talk about housing. This is a lot of out-of-the-box thinking. But I'd like to see a portion of the sales tax go to the zip code on your credit card. Think about this for a moment. With the Amazonization of retail, which is that retail is like, just shut down, right? So Amazon is taking over all of retail.
Right.
Okay, so in the old days, cities would build a shopping center and grab all this money. Okay, and
Sears, JCPenney.
Well, no, but what they would do is they'd stick it right, like in Santa Clara too, Stevens Creek Boulevard. Is an example.
Right.
You would you'd have this big shopping center on one side of the street, and the other side of the street was a different city. One side was San Jose, one side was Santa Clara. San Jose would grab all the money. Okay, so, but cities sometimes, part of our traffic problems are caused by this jobs housing imbalance. Mm-hmm. Palo Alto has 3 jobs for every house. San Jose has 0.7 jobs for every house, so there's massive traffic. So if we just took some of the sales tax based upon where you live, you could actually shop for your Milpitas Unified School District while you're in San Francisco.
Interesting.
I mean, and that would bring back money for your streets, your sewers, because when you lost the redevelopment agency money that the Sacramento took away from you, BobBrunton wants to bring it back.
Yep.
So
we just have a few minutes.
Away.
What I really appreciate was that I would ask you things, and then you would answer one, and then you'd get to the other one, and that was awesome. I really appreciate that. So I want to ask 2 things. What's something nice you can say about your opponent that your opponent does well? Because we've heard the other thing that you would like to mimic that. You'd like to do, keep that tradition going. Because I imagine there's one thing you seem very open-minded.
Oh, absolutely. No, look, I tell you what, I'm going to expand on a few things.
Yeah.
Canson has a thing called the Heroes Program.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm going to have what's called the Character Program. I even think that's one step higher. I mean, I want to have companies of character and people of character awards.
So it's like taking what he has, what you like, and then building on it.
So that's kind of a ceremonial type of, but it's a useful thing because I do believe that people are, people do a lot better than the government. I mean, you give $10,000 to a private charity, they do a lot better than giving $10,000 to the government. So that's the reason why I want to have like companies of characters, organizations of character.
I've got to ask you one last question, and then we'll ask you a question. We'll give you just a quick closing remark.
Sure.
And the question is, so you're a Republican, and it seems to me that a lot of people that are Democrat or independent, when they hear Republican, that's the end of it. It's Donald Trump, right? And so what's different about you? Because you did speak about taking care of people and stuff like that, lower income people, about there not being parties. If you could speak to that, I think that would be really awesome for the viewers.
Look.
Like, what are you different than Donald Trump? If they see Donald Trump anytime there's a Republican, how is Bob different?
I am running for state assembly. You have, people who know me for these 30 years know who I am. I am focused 100% on solutions. I don't care who gets the credit. Matter of fact, I'll be willing to take the blame. I don't know Donald Trump.
Right.
So
based on what you've seen, and
to me, it's just it's almost like noise to me. I mean, frankly, we have so many problems in Sacramento, in the state of California, and so many things I can focus on being better.
Yep.
I'd say give BobBrunton 2 years chance, and then fire me if I don't do a good job. We haven't, no one, if insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. Then,
I know that one.
Then, look, nothing is, I guarantee you it's useful to have a person in there who's got some financial background, some business background, but also with an open mind background, to relook at these books, open up doors that haven't been opened in a long time, and I promise you I'll be doing my damn level best to help almost everybody that I can. Okay, and that's just the way it is. I mean, I want you to vote for BobBrunton. I don't hide the fact that I'm Republican. Yeah, I am what I am, but but I'll be your best damn assemblyman you've ever seen.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, for your passion, for your knowledge. This has been great. I'm Mitch Costanza. This is Unfiltered, and we'll be right back with more.